Thanks for clicking on this tutorial. This should be really quick, really easy for beginners. If you are a beginner baker, these are the materials that you are going to need to make this heart cake. You guys check the description box for links to items that are shown in this video. You are going to need 2 layers of baked cake. Any cake that you would like, just 2 layers. It can be 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch. Does not matter. You're going to need a bigger cake board as well. Keep that in mind. Make sure your cake board is 2 sizes bigger than whatever cake that you are making. As you will see in this video, my cake board was pretty much the same size as my cake, which is 8 inches. That's what you do not want to do. You want to have a 10-inch board if you are going to design a 8-inch heart cake. Now, to start out, I like to stick my cake board to my turntable. It helps with the process and it keeps your cake board and your cake from sliding around as you are decorating. You want to get a cup. I have this cup just for baking. You want to put one of your piping bags into the cup. This is so that you can put in your buttercream easily. So you just scoop it out. You can use a spoon. You can use a spatula. Scoop out some buttercream. We are going to start the process of our crumb coats for our cake. Now, I apply a little bit of buttercream to the center of my cake board. It acts as a glue. Again, this all is just to prevent the cake from sliding around. Keep in mind that you will want your cake layers, the 2 layers of cake that you bake, to be even, frozen. So make sure they are frozen and very, very cold, and also even. So you want to cut them to make sure they are layered. In this video, my cake were there. They were in the freezer, and I don't know what happened, but I got a little space at the bottom here, which I will point out, as you can see, and you can fix that by just filling in those gaps with buttercream. That is why I recommend you doing the method that I did with putting the buttercream into a piping bag, cut off the tip, and apply it, because you can easily get into those crevices and cracks. So you just fill in those gaps, and then you're going to take your cake scraper and just smooth it out. At this point in the cake process, it's just the crumb coat. It does not have to be neat. It does not have to be perfect. We just want a simple base to start off with, okay? So make sure your layers are even. Make sure that your gaps are filled in. That's very important. Now, this is the easiest way to create the heart shape if you are using round cakes. You can also use a heart cake pan, but if you do not have a heart cake pan on hand, this is the easiest way. As you can see, I ended up using a ruler as well, because when I started cutting, I noticed that the 2 top left and right sections weren't the same size as the 2 bottom sections. I have another tutorial. It's a short that's on my page showing you exactly how to do this as well, and the best way to do it. Pretty much I'm doing it the same way. The only difference is in that other video, I actually cut them all out evenly. Yeah, so you just look on my page and you can see the short where it says how to cut a heart cake. You definitely can watch that. I apply the pieces that I cut to the other side and just match up the corners as you saw in the video. And yeah, the buttercream just acts as a glue, like I said, to attach it to the cake. My cake is frozen, so that helps with the cake being super cold, super frozen. To complete the heart shape, you want to cut out a triangle section, as I did, and the back. Don't go too deep, but just deep enough to create that that heart shape at the top. So once you cut that out, you just go ahead and pull out the remaining pieces that you do not need, and then go ahead and clean up whatever crumbs that fell out. Scrape that off, get that off of the cake board. After that, we are going to start the crumb coat process. You can use the buttercream in your piping bag to fill in this gap. It will be much easier. So you're going to see me doing that. But the rest of the cake, you can still use the piping bag. You just keep refilling it using the cup method that you saw. Refill it, or you can use your offset spatula. As you can see, the offset spatula is in my hand currently, but you can use your offset spatula to pick up buttercream and just apply it to the cake as well. You just want to get your cake all covered. Even if you see pieces of the cake, that is okay in this step. We just want an even layer of buttercream on the cake so that when you apply your final coat, whatever color that may be, it doesn't attract crumbs. Like no crumbs will get in it, so you can have an even smooth surface. So that's all this crumb coating is for. That's what it's for. Now, again, like I said, make sure your cakes are frozen. If they aren't frozen and you do this process, it is possible to still do it. But at this point, when you apply your crumb coat and you're smoothing it out, you want to place your cake in the refrigerator before putting your final coat on. That way, the final coat of buttercream does not stick to this first layer or your crumb coat buttercream. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Clean off your cake board of all that extra excess, crumbs, buttercream, things like that. If you have any further questions, you can ask down below. If something wasn't explained correctly to you, you can ask me down below. This is my second coat of buttercream. I will have a tutorial on how you can make black buttercream that is not bitter and is very silky. Okay, this buttercream is a vanilla buttercream. It's just coated in black. I did not use a lot of black gel food coloring, so that's why it's not bitter. I, again, will have a recipe for that and a tutorial for that in an upcoming video. So you want to apply a generous amount. This is where you're going to apply a lot of buttercream, okay? Only because you are going to be scraping a lot of it off. So I use the offset spatula at this point. You can still put buttercream into a piping bag and spread it all around evenly and then go ahead and scrape. But in this video, I decided to use the offset spatula. You just pick up a lot of it and spread it. You just keep applying it until you feel like most of it is covered. We do not want to see the white buttercream underneath or the off-white buttercream underneath. We want to make sure this layer doesn't show any cake. It doesn't show any other buttercream underneath. So, again, also make sure your cake layers are even so you can have a nice, even finish. This cake was made for someone, and once I realized, that I made certain little minor mistakes, that's why I'm telling you all, make sure your cake layers are even. I believe the top layer of this cake could have been cut flatter, closer to the tip of the heart. And that's why it kind of looks like it's leaning a little bit. But there are ways to finesse that and fix that if you make those mistakes. I'm at the point where I know how to just use my decorating skills to kind of level everything out. But for a beginner or someone who, achieves perfection, because no cake is going to be super perfect. But if you are aspiring to achieve perfection, go ahead and make sure everything is level before you do your crumb coat, before you apply buttercream. It will just make everything easier. I'm just smoothing everything out. I'm using my metal scraper first, and then I go in with the small blue plastic scraper. I like those plastic scrapers the best. For silky buttercream, it makes everything just so smooth. At You see this point where I made a mistake of scraping too hard? That's what you don't want to do. So as you're smoothing your cake buttercream out, you are going in with a very, very light touch. When I mean light touch, it's like you're barely touching the cake at all. You are going to really be using your other hand, whatever hand that does not have the scraper, you are going to be using that hand to move the turntable. So you're really not moving the hand with the scraper in it. But as you can see, I keep scraping that beginning part and you can see the white. I think that was just because I'm just rushing through it, but you can easily fix it by just picking up more buttercream and filling in that gap. But as you can see here, I am lightly pressing onto the cake. It's very, very light, okay? Just enough to smooth it. That's like, it takes time to like learn that, because in your brain you think push, push, push. You don't need to push. The more you push, the harder you push, the more buttercream is going to come off. That's not what you want. It's literally just a light touch. You want to have your scraper at an angle and closest to the cake, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain it. Hopefully you can see what I'm saying. And then once you get the side smooth, you take that edge of that scraper to the edge of the cake and bring it inwards. So you're scraping inwards at the top. That's how you bring everything in, and it also gives you a smooth finish. After this process, after you do this, you want to chill your cake, or again, I just let mine sit out and you see how matte it looks and how smooth it looks. It's not super perfect. It has small little imperfections, maybe a couple of little holes that could have been filled in. You would just take a little bit of buttercream again, fill it in the little holes, and go ahead and scrape again. If you do not have a super, super cold cake, you want to go ahead and chill your cake in the fridge for about 10 to 20 minutes after you apply that final coat, so that it can be hard, not hard, but just cold to the touch. If you put your finger on it, it won't leave an imprint or anything like that. What you saw me doing was just an additional step for the customer. I sprayed on some edible luster dust. It was gold, because that's what she wanted. She also wanted this happy birthday and fondant in the center. That is a big tip, and it is called a shell tip. You can look it up. They come in different sizes. I put that in a piping bag, cut the tip, cut the end of it, so that the tip can show. And then I put some of that same black buttercream on the inside. Now, to get this border, the shell border, you want to squeeze the buttercream out of the piping bag, keep the piping bag upwards, and then when it's time to release, you want to scrape downward. You want to go downward and scrape towards the cake and pull away. So you will end up releasing the pressure as you're pulling away, and that's how you get this look. I went in with a smaller shell tip, and I applied that I applied that underneath the first one, just to the side of the cake. I also did it at the bottom of the cake as well, and at the front of the cake at the points where the cake meets. You can add any other designs that you would like to your cake, just to spruce it up. I am going off of what the customer wanted. So she wanted scorpions. I made these out of a mold and fondant, some black fondant, and I sprayed some of that luster dust on top of it as well. I end up finishing off the cake with more luster dust just to give it some extra gold shine to it. But this cake is complete. Again, you can add whatever you want to add. Maybe you want to add some flowers. Maybe you want to add some ball sprinkles to it. I know that's popular. You can do some designs on the side of the cake, especially if you need to cover up any imperfections. You can do that. There are hundreds of, tutorials on how to do different designs and things like that. Since this is my first video, I will have more videos explaining more designs and things like that. If you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more tutorials.